Ready. Play.
Ferrero is just touching his chest here. I don't know if it's because he's having some palpitations or he's worried about his man.
He could be.
Match point number 3. Backhand return into the forehand of Carlos. We're a pretty neutral situation with this rally, but that's a bit short there from Yannick. That's good depth, though, from Yannick, but that's good depth from Carlos and good depth again. Just keep going. Here we go. Oh, lovely Carlos. And it's won the point and it's won the match. The backhand down the line was just too good in the end, forcing the error. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, good match point indeed, Ghibli says. And Vamos, says Terry. We'll see a nice warm exchange, I'm pretty sure. These two guys, they just keep pushing each other in so many different manners to so many different places that they've probably never been to before. It's probably part of the reason why they have such respect for each other on court. We'll get some tweets and Instagram posts from each one, I'm sure, in the coming hours. Well, yesterday or last night, I loved a tweet from Carlos Alcaraz, which just showed an egg timer. Just like we all would be thinking, I just want to get on that court right now, really, rather than just keep waiting. Well, I'm sure he didn't want to be on the court for the first hour or so as he was getting, clearly outplayed by Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner's wait for a French Open title will have to go on. And Carlos Alcaraz may be waiting less than 48 hours for his day in the Parisian sun. What are your first thoughts on that match, Damien?
Yeah, great stuff. I mean, we eventually got that fourth set, the fifth set as well, when the quality was high from both. If we got just like the fourth set and fifth set and that was the entire match, it really could have been something amazing. As it stands, it was actually still very good. I think it's a very memorable one. Obviously, we're going to get a lot of Alcaraz Sinners over the years. So far, it still hasn't like dried out on me, you know.
No.
It's not something that I dread yet. It's something that I'm actually super excited about. And how does this affect Sinner's number one ranking, Ghosty? It does not. Yannick is going to be number one, regardless of the result of this event. And just overall, it was a really good showcase of Yannick starting better, Carlos a little tentative on that forehand. Then we have that tactical element of like Alcaraz trying to break him down, and it was scary for a moment for Yannick. But he survives the tricky part, especially in the beginning of the third set when he was still down physically. And after that, we just get a really good match from both, really, especially fourth and fifth. So I'm glad that we got it. It was definitely quite something. I'm not sure after watching it that this was actually the virtual final. Like, I think it what we saw today does add some intrigue along, ahead of Sunday as well. But all in all, obviously, any Alcaraz Sinner match that we have is huge narratively. Carlos now leads the head-to-head 6-4. He leads the clay head-to-head 2-1. It's definitely huge for him too, because as we said, I think at the beginning of the very beginning of the match, someone was commenting about that, maybe Ghosty, that like, let's imagine Alcaraz loses this match pretty easily. And then we have these thoughts like, how is he going to beat Sinner on grass or on a faster hardcourt then? But he does it just like in Indian Wells. So now we will also have more narratives and more storylines going into their next matches, possibly in faster conditions. And yeah, all in all, it's just still a phenomenal effort. They were both very nervous. They were both tired at various stages of the match, but it's still something that will sort of stick with Alcaraz, that win. And especially if he can claim it on Sunday as well. This will be one of his biggest wins ever. Along with the Djokovic final at Wimbledon.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite backyard territory like the Philip Chatrier is for Rafa, or perhaps centre court is for either Novak or Roger. But yeah, there was a feeling that if Yannick can come and do it here, India Wells is the other one that springs to mind in terms of Carlos, and where he's probably going to have more chances against Yannick than others. If he starts making inroads here, and I guess he has made an inroad at least today, then, I'm thinking of Roger and Rafa and how that matchup played out in the end of the sort of 2000s when Rafa was getting close on the grass. And, obviously 2008 was a huge final for so many reasons, but it was also sort of a landmark win, if you like, in that respect. But Carlos has shut the door on that for now. As you say, 6-4 in the head-to-head. Officially on the website, of course, it will say 5-4. But was it a challenger or a youth match? Challenger, right? For the other
Challenger.
matches.
Juniors don't count.
Juniors, okay, yeah, but it was a
Juniors don't
challenge.
count, but it's a challenger, yeah.
Yeah. Carlos Alcaraz becomes the youngest
Alicante
man.
challenger, and it was actually a huge story because Carlos was 15, Yannick was 17. So, at the time it was already considered like a massive matchup. But yeah, the youngest player to make a slam final on all three surfaces, as we said earlier. Yeah, it's a pretty huge effort. Obviously, he hasn't lost the slam final yet either. He's won Wimbledon. He's won the US Open. Now it's time for Roland Garros.
I mean, you add I think 2 is pretty good, particularly when we think about Andy Murray in the first 4 or 5, and so many players. This is if Casper Ruud makes the final, he's been in 3 Grand Slam finals before and not won any of those 3. If Alexander Zverev makes the final, that'll be his second, I believe, Grand Slam final, and he hasn't won the previous one. So it is really hard to win those first ones. And Alcaraz will say as well that he had one against Novak Djokovic on centre court at Wimbledon. So, sometimes you get your first one, but you're not playing one of the big 3. Well, okay. But then I can see the argument of how difficult it is if you keep running into the big 3. You can't really.
But you're playing Yannick Sinner, and by now we have to kind of move our standards. And maybe at the 2022 US Open, even though their match was so close, maybe Yannick didn't have that sort of position in the sport yet. Now he does. Like now, every single slam win is fantastic and every single one is worth a lot. But now if we have Yannick Sinner or Carlos Alcaraz beaten along the way, that's kind of what we're going to be aiming for from now on. And yeah, he's absolutely done it. And obviously, if you're someone like Carlos Alcaraz, like your year is pretty much about the slams. Like if you don't get a slam title, you don't care what you did in all the 1000s.
Well, you also need to get that slam, Damien, because of the argument or discussion is probably a slightly better word, that you, myself, and Jack were having in different moments and not necessarily always in the same room together regarding, Carlos Alcaraz winning slams. So if he wins on Sunday, that puts me back we talked about Iga being on course for 14, and she probably needs to win like 5 out of 6. Carlos just needs to win 1 slam a year, and that 10 slams or more thing, is on course.
1 slam a year, and it's amazing. And if you don't, it's a pretty weird position, like for all of these players. Honestly, I sometimes think about it, especially since we started doing the Iga and Carlos podcast with Vansh. Like I just start thinking about this, that basically if they don't win a slam, it's a failed year, like regardless of what you do. So it's all about these 4 titles, all about these 4 potential titles. And of course, it's only a thing because we're talking about Świątek and Alcaraz and like that sort of talents, that sort of players. If we were doing a show on, I don't know, Botic van de Zandschulp and Marina Erakovic. Erakovic hasn't played in many years, but anyway, if we were doing a show on them, like of course that's not the case, but like in these instances, like yeah, they really only really have to care about this 1 slam title a year, sort of, to make it a success. If you get 2, it's already phenomenal. If you get 1, great. If you get none, oh my god, I failed. And it's a really tough position to be in. Has Carlos just secured his? I mean, obviously not yet, but he will be the favorite either way over Ruud or Zverev. And well, beating Sinner, it's huge as well, just for the context of their next matches in the rivalry.
I just saw the match point again, and it's impressive from both players given the magnitude of the point. But it's just impressive because, Yannick does most things right. He goes for the lines. He hits it with venom. Alcaraz deals with it pretty well. And then Alcaraz has a half chance. It's not much more than a half chance. But boy, does he take it. Now, to the casual observer, you'll just see a regular rally, and you'll see it end with for me, it's a definite forced error. And you go, okay, fine. But if you think about it, you think about the magnitude, you think about how difficult each shot is, and you think about each player just turning the screw, and you think about the risk that Carlos is taking. Maybe for him, of course, having match point up is a bit less of a risk, but I don't know. I just think that it didn't end in the same spectacular way that some of those points were ending at the end of the 4th set, but it was still very impressive from both players. Carlos saying you have to suffer to enjoy to suffer. That's the key, which sounds very Rafa-esque. Also, I'm just having a quick look at some mid-match moments when Sinner was also getting a bit of attention to what appears to be actually the hand rather than the hip, which has obviously been an ongoing concern of his. So there were some physical dips, but the match was just kind of a bit weird in some ways. Now I think we can look back on it as a bit more of a normal match that, you know, one player was solid one set, one player was off one set, some little issues we touched upon with Yannick in the second set. But that first 8 games, I know it included one break of serve, but it also could have been a bagel. It does show us, though, that, I mean, I think you mentioned Indian Wells, the first set that they had was very similar, right? And of course, Alcaraz went on to win that match. So maybe there's some comparisons there, albeit with a 3-setter.
Yeah, it was pretty similar, but I think in Indian Wells it was different, that it wasn't just like Carlos, like not lacking range on the forehand initially like he did today, but just getting blown off the court. I don't know if we ever really saw that sort of offense from Yannick. We did see it maybe in the 4th set, especially. He had some violent forehands cross, but especially by the 2nd set, he was just like kind of struggling to finish off any point, right? So it was a bit different, but obviously, like, yeah, in sort of a very basic way, it is similar. Yeah, that the 1st set is a bit of a blowout, but then he comes back, sort of finds a way to play this matchup better. I guess by the end of, like, by the 4th and 5th set, it maybe kind of went away from the tactics that won him the 2nd set today, but probably was forced to. But yes, performance on serve, of course, went up for Alcaraz a lot in the 4th and 5th set. So I guess maybe we can say that it was a very similar match to Indian Wells, but because it's longer, at some point we just got even more new patterns and more twists and turns. And also, I mean, I still think that, like, if they were in like their best shape, and if they were coming off a phenomenal, clay swing and ideal preparation, this match probably wouldn't be as up and down, right?
No, it still could be equally exciting, but oh well, there we go. Carlos Alcaraz into his first French Open final, and as you said, I think whoever he plays in that final, he will be the favourite. We'll see how that second semi-final pans out. Nick will be joining us, or joining the separate stream very shortly. I think I'll be there as well at times, and so does Jamie. So yeah, I think that's it. I think we've pretty much closed all the stories, and there's just one story left for Carlos Alcaraz to end. And that will be in just under 48 hours from now. And we'll have both, of course, women's final tomorrow and men's final here on the channel. I think that's it. So I'm now going to play us out with the usual, let's do a friends of the show, followed by a reminder to like and subscribe. And we'll speak to you all very, very soon.
Ready? Play.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.